morning to you. Welcome to Breakfast with Dan Walker and Louise Minchin.
The headlines for you at 6 o'clock this morning. From a little-known qualifier to a global sensation. What next for US Open champion Emma Raducanu as she prepares to return to the UK?
She is the first British woman to win a singles title at a major for 44 years. The last woman to do that, Virginia Wade, told me how she couldn't wait to find her and give her a hug after the match.
I'm just so thrilled that somebody as good as Emma has come along and taken the world by absolute storm and just been brilliant.
The government's strategy to tackle coronavirus over the autumn and winter is being finalised. We'll get the details tomorrow.
We're not well enough prepared for economic shocks. Good morning. That's the warning that will come later from the head of the UK's biggest trade union. Frances O'Grady is calling on government to increase wages and make a form of furlough permanent. I'll talk to her before 7.
And no real weather shocks today. Plenty of cloud around, a little bit of rain in the west. But into tomorrow, England and Wales looking a good deal wetter. I've got details on that and your weather for the week ahead here on Breakfast.
Good morning, it's Monday, it's the 13th of September and the teenage tennis star, there she is behind us, Emma Raducanu, says she's ready for anything and can cope with her rise to stardom after winning the US Open.
The 18-year-old is expected to do a round of interviews today with American television networks and is predicted to become one of the sport's biggest earners. Our correspondent James Reynolds has more. Just a warning, his report does contain flash photography.
Some new eras are born slowly, but others start all in one go. Emma Raducanu comes away from the US Open with a trophy, a £1.8 million cheque and a message of congratulations from the Queen.
I've got no idea what's going on, not at all. I've got no clue, but anything that comes my way, I'm ready to deal with it. I've got great people around me to take me through these moments, and they got me here, and yeah, I'm very excited to celebrate with them later and also go home and see everyone back home. Now we rest, recover, and then we go again. That's what we do.
She's given UK Customs fair warning of the kind of silverware she'll have to declare on her return home, where she may find herself doing more of this. This summer, she was photographed by Vogue magazine.
She had just come out of Wimbledon and was just a ray of sunshine, really, and incredibly confident, very poised. It really felt like nothing could really faze her.
After her victory in New York, Emma Raducanu greeted fans in Mandarin, raising her profile in her mother's country of origin. But fame doesn't win matches.
Oh my God!
So, how far can her tennis skills take her?
Champions do look like they belong from the get-go, right? They're not overwhelmed by the occasion. When they have a big win, they follow it up the next day because they're not done. They're just getting started. So they always look like they belong, but she took it to a whole new level with her, with her emotions and her poise. She's got a long way to go. She's just getting started. So, you know, hold your horses. Hall of Famer, of course. The only question is how many majors will she win? I think she'll be #1 in the world, most likely.
For now, though, Emma Raducanu will have to settle with being world number 23. A summit to the very top comes in stages. James Reynolds, BBC News.
And hello, at 6:30, Sally has an interview with Virginia Wade, who was in New York for the final. She's of course, the last British player to win a women's single title at a major. That was 44 years ago.
Now, the Prime Minister is finalising the government's strategy for tackling coronavirus in England over the autumn and winter months. This is before the press conference you might have heard, which takes place tomorrow.
A decision on booster jabs is imminent, and Boris Johnson will also announce he's repealing some emergency COVID powers. Our political correspondent Chris Mason reports.
Nearly 90% of those of us aged over 16 around the UK have now had a first dose of a COVID vaccine, and 80% of us have had both jabs.
Thanks a lot.
The Prime Minister will say this is what's allowed so much of normal life to return, and so soon it'll be time for older people to get a third jab. Boris Johnson will also announce plans to get rid of any COVID-related powers the government no longer needs, but to keep others. The legal authority via the Coronavirus Act to close schools and some businesses in England will be ditched. But other elements of the Coronavirus Act will be kept, such as the requirement to self-isolate, having tested positive, and the provision of sick pay from day one to those self-isolating. Final decisions await on making it easier to travel abroad and vaccinating healthy 12 to 15-year-olds. There's a delicate balancing act for ministers to try to strike here. The Health Secretary Sajid Javid acknowledging that COVID and other viruses like autumn and winter, as he put it. Cases could go up, and the NHS is already under significant pressure. Chris Mason, BBC News.
Let's speak now to our chief political correspondent, Adam Fleming, who joins us live from Westminster this morning. Adam, good morning to you. Is the Prime Minister, you think, expected to urge caution?
Yeah, I think they probably will, because there's a combination of things that mean that winter could be quite a worrying period. You've got the Delta variant of coronavirus, which is much more infectious than other versions of it. You've got the fact that flu will be circulating, and we haven't had flu for a while because we've all been locked down. And there's also some concerns about how effective the flu vaccine will be this year. And then there's the combination of flu and COVID. So that all adds up to, I think, everyone having to still be pretty careful. Now, what we're going to get from the government this week is this winter plan, where they will talk about their contingencies that they'll kind of have in their back pocket in case the situation gets bad. So I think we will probably have the idea that we might be told to work from home again in a blanket way, and the idea that we might get tougher restrictions on when to wear masks or not. But having said that, a few things do seem to be disappearing. COVID passports in England. Do you remember in July the Prime Minister said, well, in September we're going to make it mandatory that you show a COVID passport if you want to go to a nightclub or another big event. That is now not going to happen this month, although it may be that COVID passports are another one of these things that are kept in reserve for an emergency. Although it's a complicated picture, because businesses are still allowed to ask you for a COVID passport. This is just about the stuff that the government can make mandatory in law.
OK, Adam, thank you very much for that. We'll speak to you a bit later on this morning.
The trial of a new blood test designed to detect more than 50 types of cancer before symptoms appear begins today. More than 140,000 volunteers aged between 50 and 77 would be offered the tests, which work by spotting chemical changes in genetic code. Researchers say if the trial is a success, it could mark the beginning of a revolution in cancer treatment.
A US court will hold a pre-trial hearing today in the civil case filed by a woman who claims the Duke of York sexually assaulted her when she was 17. Last week, lawyers for Virginia Giuffre claimed that she successfully served Prince Andrew with legal papers. A judge will decide if those papers were issued correctly. Duke of York has always strongly denied the accusations and says he has no recollection of meeting her.
North Korea claims it has successfully tested a new long-range cruise missile capable of hitting much of Japan. These pictures have been released by the North Korean state media, accompanying reports that 2 missiles were launched over the weekend, both travelling as far as 1,500 kilometres. The US military said the test showed North Korea's threat to its neighbours and the international community.
See the headlines as they happen and watch BBC News live in the app and get the full story with bbc.co.uk/news. Follow the story for all the latest with BBC News.